Hello and welcome to today's podcast on cars. This is part one, and as you can tell from the title of this spreadsheet, my topic at hand is naturally aspirated high horsepower per liter, also known as specific output. In other words, I'm going to focus in part one on various engines that are currently available or very recently discontinued, as indicated with red font here. Naturally aspirated engines that achieve at least 85 horsepower per liter. Now, in my experience, I have found that that is essentially the threshold for a high output or sporty engine that is naturally aspirated. About 85 horsepower per liter or more. Another way of saying that is 85 horsepower per 1,000 cc's or cubic centimeters. Now, in this spreadsheet, you will notice there are some flat 4, also known as boxer 4 engines. These are found in Subarus, and to be specific, the Subaru BRZ, both the previous generation and the current generation, BRZ, and then those, as you may know, are also shared in the Toyota 86 or GR86. Now, another focal point of these selected engines is that they are available in production model cars within the United States of America. In other words, here in America, I could go purchase one of these without too much hassle. Also, they are available in vehicles that are relatively affordable to those in the financial, what would be called upper middle class or below. So, like for example, I've got this engine here in the Toyota Corolla, the current as well as next model year 2023 Toyota Corolla. And I also have some here that are more high-end, like this Toyota V8 that's available in Lexus vehicles, certain ones, and this one in the Ford Mustang. So some of these aren't exactly entry-level vehicles, but they are available at a reasonable cost, so to speak, to what might be considered an upper middle class income household. So with that, let's take a few samples here. So I'm looking at this Subaru flat 4 or boxer 4 engine. It's about 2.4 liters and it produces 228 horsepower, and that equates to 95.5 horsepower per liter. Now, the outgoing model is a little bit smaller, about 2 liters, and it produced only 205 horsepower, but you got 102.6 horsepower per liter with that engine. So I'm not going to dive into each and every one of these engines here. These are just more of an example, but I will address one other finding that I discovered in the process of my research, and that is, generally speaking, in the mass market, V6 engines that are naturally aspirated, non-turbocharged, non-supercharged, V6 engines tend to be the most common engine configuration to have that higher horsepower per liter figure, 85 horsepower per liter or more. In fact, there were some other V6 engines that didn't quite make the cut here that were available from Stellantis, the overarching group that holds Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and so on. Some that came quite close, like around 82 to 84 and a half, somewhere in there, horsepower per liter. But for the purposes of this spreadsheet, this list, I wanted to go with those that were at least 85 and higher horsepower per liter. One other quick note is that the highest horsepower per liter on this chart is that Subaru previous generation engine from the BRZ. And if I were to go with the next highest, that is still a BRZ engine at 95.5 horsepower per liter. Close second to the current engine list. Close second, the Ford V8 in the Mustang at 95.3, depending on exactly which trim level, whether you're going with the standard GT or the new Mach 1. There is, of course, the Bullet edition that was recently produced. So you get a few different varying horsepower figures here, but essentially around 95 horsepower per liter. All right, in the second part, I'm going to be focusing on just the surprise engine here. It is not on this list because the car cost is well into the 100,000 range. In fact, depending on exactly which model and trim level you're looking at, it can be around $170,000. So it doesn't really apply to this list, but it's a fantastic engine, and that is going to be the engine in the Porsche 911 GT3 RS.